Bold Bakers, this week we are making a homemade version of an iconic store-bought cookie. A Biscoff cookie, a lovely spiced cookie that has warm flavors, is absolutely yummy and goes great with a cup of coffee. The dough is simple. We are going to start out by mixing together all of our dry ingredients. So here I have some regular all-purpose flour. In goes a little bit of baking powder, a little bit of baking soda. These are crisp cookies, so they're actually kind of more like biscuits in Europe. If you travel, usually on airlines or in lots of cafes across Europe, including Ireland, you will get a Biscoff cookie sleeve on the side of your coffee, and they are so delicious, dipped in a cup of hot coffee. We have some nutmeg, we have cloves, we have ginger, we have cinnamon and ground allspice. Quite a mix there. Often we use those flavors actually for around Christmas time, around the holidays, for the Irish baking anyway. So it's nice to kind of have that like kind of warm, homey mix in just an everyday cookie. Now you can do this step by hand if you want to. I've got my mixer here, so I'm going to use that. Into my mixer, I'm going to add in my softened butter. Make sure that butter is nice and soft because we're going to be creaming that up really well. Lovely. I like to leave my butter sitting out overnight when I know I have a recipe that needs creaming. Into this, we're going to add in some regular white sugar and a little bit of brown sugar. Now the brown sugar works really well with the spices, and it also gives the cookie kind of a caramel flavor more than anything. And if you've had a Biscoff, you will know that flavor and you know that smell. Turn your machine on to medium-high speed and cream these ingredients together. Maybe you haven't had a Biscoff cookie, but have you had speculoos? Speculoos is cookie butter, which is actually made from Biscoff cookies. It's absolutely delicious. I think it was like years ago became super like well known in America, and because it started to be sold here. It's super delicious, and you would have it just like off the spoon or like with a croissant or something like that. It's really delicious, and I've actually got a recipe on my website of how to make it. Once your butter and sugar is creamed together well, it's nice and light and fluffy, go ahead and add in your vanilla. Then I'm just going to turn the machine down low, and I'm going to add in my dry ingredients and just let this mix until your dough comes together and is just well combined. There you go. You can turn your dough out onto your countertop like so. Bring it together until it forms a ball like that. Flatten it out because now we are going to chill it. We want to wrap our dough up in cling wrap, and we are going to let this chill for a minimum of 1 hour. You can also make this dough, keep it in the fridge for a few days, or you can even freeze it. And I'll keep this in my freezer frozen for weeks on end. That means you just have cookie dough ready to go. For right now, I'm going to pop this into the fridge, let it firm up, and then we can roll it. So once your dough is chilled, it's time to roll it out. You want some flour on your surface for this, for easy rolling. Also put some flour on your rolling pin. Roll out this dough to around 1/4 inch thick. That seems to give you like a nice thickness of a cookie, like good bite. I do recommend when you're rolling this, because it's kind of a soft dough, just moving it around, making sure it's not sticking to the table. And if you need extra flour, go with the extra flour, because that'll just make life easier. Don't do less flour and then make your life harder. Lovely. This is looking good. So let's talk shapes. Years and years ago, I paid way too much money for these cookie stamps that you can actually print words on things, which I thought was great at the time. Turns out actually it's worked really well. So, but I wrote Biscoff in here because an iconic cookie, it actually says Lotus, which is the brand, but they're rectangular shape and have the words on it. So I thought we would do similar shape and write Biscoff on them. So all I'm going to do is just stamp out my cookie, pick it up and pray that it has left an imprint, and it did. Lovely. And then I'm going to lift it over and sit on my baking tray. If that looks good, I'm going to keep on going with the rest of my dough. And then just transfer them as you cut them, just to make sure the dough is not getting too soft. So if you follow Bigger Bolder Baking for a long time, you will know that one of my favorite things to do is to make things that are store-bought, make them homemade, because I always think they're better homemade. And this is a perfect example of that. But in case you didn't know, I actually have homemade versions of a lot of your favorite store-bought treats already, like homemade graham crackers, which are absolutely delicious, homemade digestive biscuits, homemade Chips Ahoy, which are way better than the real thing, and then also homemade Oreos. Homemade Oreos are so good. Just so you know, when you've cut out your cookies and you have your scraps, roll them up again, roll them out, and keep on cutting, because that is totally fine with this cookie dough. You will end up with around 25, 28 cookies, something like that. You will need 2 trays. Okay, I have all my cookies rolled out. Now it's time to get them into the oven. We're baking these cookies fan assist because we have 2 trays going into the oven, so we need the air to circulate around them. You want to bake them at 325 degrees Fahrenheit, 165 degrees Celsius for roughly 16 to 18 minutes. If you do not have fan assist, don't worry, just rotate your trays while baking. Once your cookies are a lovely golden brown, they are ready to come out of the oven. These look fantastic. They kept their shape, and I can see the Biscoff written there in the middle. Not only do they look great, but they smell amazing. There's a bit of a combination of caramel and Christmas all in one. Once these cookies cool down, they will crisp up. Then they are ready to be eaten immediately. Now that you have this recipe, you don't have to wait for your next trip to Europe to enjoy these cookies. This cookie is one of my guilty pleasures. They're a little bit spiced or a little bit salty. And with that brown sugar, they just have this lovely caramel flavor. And they're lovely and crisp, just like the biscuits that I grew up with. Takes me right back home. If you like this homemade version of a store-bought cookie, then stick around because you can see how to make Oreos, graham crackers, Chip Ahoy, lots of other things from scratch at home. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you back here again, same time, same place next week with a brand new recipe.